Hello everyone. I hope that this series of show versus book would let us have a bird's eye viewpoint over the storytelling decisions made by Robert Jordan and the team working on the show, and we'll know maybe why those decisions were made and how they could impact the story in the long term. So I'll try my best to interpret what's been happening in the minds of the author and the minds of the showrunners, but just have in mind that this is just my interpretation. I'm just trying to follow the most common sense route of what the reasons for specific storytelling decisions might have been, whether for Robert Jordan or for the team running the show, and I think it would be just interesting thing for us to discuss and see what the differences are between the shows and the books and what both are trying to achieve within their domain and within their place in the story. One of the first key differences between the show and the books is the total absence of Tom Merrilin from the initial Two Rivers Runaways, which consists of Moraine, Juan, Randall Tor, Martin Cotton, Perrin Barra, Egwene Ovia, and Nina Filmira. In the books, Tom Merrilin, who is a Gleeman and goes into the village to entertain the people for their Beltane holiday. He's basically a storyteller, a juggler. He plays music, he tells stories. He's a general entertainer and a very respected kind of entertainer in the world of the Wheel of Time. So he's basically one of the few foreigners entering the Two Rivers for the holiday. He's been expected and he has some great interactions with the initial cast that we see in the books. His initial role is basically to be a co-mentor alongside Moraine. While Moraine in the books is very close to, especially when it comes to information, she doesn't tell the boys or the girls too much. She plays her cards close to the chest. Tom is basically the one explaining the world to the boys. Tom is basically the one keeping the spirit of the Two Rivers folk uplift to some extent. He is the one playing opposite to Moraine in terms of giving the boys information, giving the boys a warning about the world itself, the agenda of the Aes Sedai, which in the books aren't as respected or well known within the Two Rivers as they're portrayed in the show. So basically Tom is the one who plays the more protective role for the boys, especially even from Moraine, while Moraine is the one that plays like more of a distant, powerful mentor kind of role. But because of her role in the initial story where she must keep a lot of secrets and she doesn't even tell the boys that one of them is a dragon reborn, you basically end up in a situation where the only one they could really trust in the initial first half of the book is Tom Merrilin. And so his absence means that Moraine actually becomes the one who kind of takes on his role and is supposed to give the boys some of the information that Tom imparts to them, and also to be the counselor and the confidant that the boys need in specific moments when bad things happen to them, which were usually explained by Tom to us the readers and to the boys in the book. But now it seems that Moraine will be the one dealing with those situations. So that's quite a big difference. I wonder where we'll see Tom appear later in the story. I hope it's in season 1. I think that at least for the most part of the story, he's at least as important as Moraine. He tends to be very important for the story in the long term, and I hope that we'll be able to see his influence because he adds a whole new layer to the story. He's more mature, he's more suspicious towards Aes Sedai. He basically brings the wariness that the show seems to be lacking so far when it comes to people interacting with Aes Sedai. So that's an interesting thing to see, and I'll be very curious if we'll see it by the end of the season.